Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Amityville BOE Free School District Board of Education Regular Board Meeting, February 14th, 2024. Happy Valentine's Day. I'm calling the meeting to order at 5:35 p.m. Present at the meeting tonight is myself, President Lisa Johnson, Second Vice President Carol Seehoff, Trustee Dave Heller, Trustee Leslie Gretz, Trustee Juan Leon, as well as First Vice President Jeanette Sanchez will be arriving probably in the next 15 minutes. Also present tonight is our Superintendent, Dr. Gina Talbot, the Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum Instruction, Dr. Joan Lane, Assistant Superintendent for Human Resources, Dr. Brittany Waite, and Assistant Superintendent for Finance and Operation, Ms. Olivia Boazzi, as well as our District Clerk, Melissa Durden. At this point in time, at 5:36, and I have a motion to go into executive session for a particular person's employment history, as well as advice from counsel regarding ATA negotiations. And I should note that our counsel, John Feeding, will be arriving roughly about 6 o'clock. So can I have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Second. Dave Heller is first. Leslie Kretz is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0. We will resume open at 7:30. Thank you for attending this open portion of the meeting.
Session for advice from counsel regarding ATA negotiations, as well as particular person's employment history. In the likely event of emergency, you need to note the exits are clearly marked. Take a moment to note the exit there to where you're seated. Smoke is not allowed on school grounds. As a courtesy, please turn off your cell phones during the meeting. Please join the board in the Pledge of Allegiance. So good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all. Thank you to all the students, parents, teachers, and support staff and community members for joining us tonight. The Board of Education and Central Administration sincerely appreciate your presence. The Board of Education acknowledges the strong emotions surrounding the excess of teachers and staff members at the end of this school year and truly empathize deeply with those who are directly impacted. At this point in time, I'm going to turn the meeting over to Dr. Talbot.
Good evening to our Board of Education President, Lisa Johnson, our trustees, colleagues, families, and members of our school community. I do stand before you today with a heavy heart, knowing the frustration and concern many of you are feeling in the wake of the recent layoff of 2 district-wide administrators, 32 teachers, 6 teaching assistants, 5 monitors, 0.5 clerical, 3 security personnel, and 1 custodial position by layoff and 2 through attrition due to budget constraints. Your feelings are understandable, and your questions tonight are valid. As it pertains to our district class sizes, this year, for the 23-24 school year, in pre-K, our class sizes range from 10 to 12, and next year they are proposed to go up to 18 with UPK compliance. In kindergarten, our class sizes range 14 to 18, and next year, the range will be 20 to 22. In first grade this year, our class sizes range from 15 to 19, and next year from 22 to 23. In second grade, our class sizes range from 19 to 20, and next year from 23 to 24. In grades 3 through 5, presently, we have a wide range of 14 to 28, and next year we're looking at 26 to 28. Through grades 6 through 8. We presently have a range of 15 to 24, and next year's range will be approximately 25 to 26. At the high school, grades 9 through 12, our ranges are from 24 to 29, and next year not to exceed 30 students. Now, there are variables in those numbers because you have AP classes that are lower, and you have other classes which ranges may be a little different. So it appears that our district has had a fragile budget for years. Last year alone, our spending exceeded projections in crucial areas such as special education, general education, employee benefits, and more. Our revenues were overestimated, further exacerbating our already precarious financial situation. Compounding our challenges is the fact that our district's combined wealth ratio does not accurately reflect the economic realities of our students, scholars, families. Despite the wealth ratio suggesting otherwise, most of our families do not live in that tier of wealth. At the same time, neighboring districts receive more state aid, leaving us at a disadvantage when funding our schools. Our current fiscal position is dire. We have minimal dollars in our savings account, fund balance, and reserves to help navigate problems. This indicates a lack of financial cushioning. But let me be clear, this is not a problem that has emerged overnight. It is the culmination of years of having a fragile budget. In meeting with our internal auditors, we are implementing the recommended internal controls to improve processes moving forward. We have met with elected officials to plead our case. But in times of crisis, and that's where we are, we must come together as a community, united in our commitment to finding solutions and forging a path forward. We cannot change the past, but we can shape the future. And that starts with transparency, accountability, and collaboration. That is why I am pleased to announce that on behalf of the board, we are making preparations to meet with our educational stakeholders to provide an opportunity for open dialogue and meaningful engagement. This will be a chance for you to talk with us about our schools, our budget, and most importantly, how we can work together to address our challenges. My email address is gtalbert@amityvilleufsd.org. If you would like to reach out to set up a gathering to begin this dialogue, feel free to email me, as we will be reaching out to some of you as well. None of us is as smart as all of us. We need you just as much as you need us. Change will not happen overnight, and the road ahead will undoubtedly be challenging. But by working together and harnessing our community's collective wisdom and dedication, I am confident that we can navigate these turbulent waters and emerge stronger than ever before. Tonight's budget presentation will be presented by Ms. Olivia Buatsi, our Assistant Superintendent for Finance and Operations, and she will provide a preliminary overview of the 24-25 budget. If you can cue the screen for the presentation. So slides 2, 3, you can go to the next slide. So this particular slide gives the important dates as to when you will be hearing from us according to the budget development process. Following these dates, the budget development process began in November And it has been a collaborative process, so we have worked together with our school leaders in terms of establishing some of what you will be hearing on tonight. There
So,
are
ladies and
copies
gentlemen,
available.
just as a reminder, I believe that there may be some handouts in the back. If not, we will definitely put this presentation up online. Excuse me, Dr. Talbot. I apologize. Typically, we have this large screen here that you'll be able to see a lot better, but that large screen is not working. So that's why we're working with this small screen. If we can possibly turn it just a little bit, but it's not really good. Have we handed out all the presentations? I apologize. So the handouts, I think were left in the room. So we're going to get them right now.
There are handouts for you.
We do have the handouts. They were not brought out. So I apologize for that. Give us 1 second before we get started here. Thank you. So Dr. Talbot, let's just hold on 1 second because I think they were
Okay.
left in the room.
Sure.
Honestly, they could probably take mine. Yeah. 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 You just give me, but I don't. You don't probably. They want to, then they have moved the. Big note when you bring it up. Let me see. Yeah. Take a seat. All right, so there are copies in the back and there'll be additional copies that are being made and they'll be placed on the table. So Dr. Talbot, if you want to go ahead and go forward with it. So
Sure.
there'll be more copies being made if you'd like a copy tonight. And the copy of the presentation will also be placed on the website. So Dr. Talbot, you can go forward.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you for your patience. There were over, I believe, 100 copies of this presentation made available for you in hard copy. And it will be posted on the website following tonight's meeting on tomorrow as well for you to review. As we had spoken earlier, the budget development process has been a collaborative process in terms of meeting with key stakeholders to provide you the update that Ms. Buatsi is going to facilitate on this evening, primarily talking about some of the budget drivers that's driving this year's budget. So without further ado, I present to you Ms. Buatsi.
Thank you very much, Dr. Talbot, Board of Education. Thank you very much, Dr. Talbot. Can you hear me now? Thank you, I appreciate it. Every budget has a story. Even though we are dealing with numbers, the story drives the numbers. And this year is not an exception. And I'm going to go through the budget drivers in the 24-25 year. The first budget driver that we have is the end of the American Rescue Plan monies. Then we have program cost and labor cost, employee benefits, costs to remove mascots and imagery. Years ago, I wouldn't be talking about this, but now I'm talking about it because it is a reality. Commercial insurance, energy performance contract, and like Dr. Talbot spoke about, we also have an issue with state aid. Even though our combined wealth ratio is very high, what it is doing to us is that it is driving the state aid away from this school district. And compared to neighboring school districts with the same demographics, we do not get the same state aid that should be due to us. And this year, it's even worse this year because the governor is trying to take away what is called the hold harmless or safe harmless. And that safe harmless provision in the allocation of state aid is really very important because what it says is that whatever state aid you receive this year, you will not get less the subsequent year. But this is where we are. About half of the schools district in the entire state are going to experience a reduction in state aid.
Excuse me, there's no comments from the community at this point in time. We will take comments from the community on agenda items and the non-agenda items once the presentation is done. So I'm respectfully requesting that people do not shout out from the audience. So therefore we can get to the presentation and we'll be able to receive questions from the community. Thank you.
The increase that is being alluded to is about 1.61% increase. That is so insignificant, given what we are facing and given what most school districts are facing next year. Can you go to the next screen? So the American Rescue Plan were relief grants offered by the federal government to schools and communities that were struggling in the wake of COVID-19. The ARP grants in Amityville was used to reduce class sizes so that teachers were better able to close the learning gap created as a result of the COVID years. They were also used to hire staff to address students' mental health needs. Unfortunately, this money will be eliminated in the fall of 2024. This is not unique to Amityville. A lot of school districts, including New York City, is going to have a problem because this funds will be eliminated this year. It was supposed to be a relief money. It was only for 3 years, and after 3 years, it is going away. Can we go to the next slide? So some of the other problems or the issues that we are having is that we continue to have students in out-of-district placements, special education increase, and those monies are very significant. And we are not saying that that is not the right placement for students. It is indeed the right placement for these students because that is what their IEP or individualized education program mandate that we provide for them. In addition to that, we continue to see an increase in the number of students, both regular ed and special ed in BOCE's program. We also continue to see an increase in the number of students enrolled in charter schools. Charter schools are a particular, let me explain to you how charters are funded. They get an allocation of our state aid. So every student that is enrolled in a charter school get a proportional share of our state funding. This year, it is more than $20,000 per student. So the more students that go to charter school, the more they draw from the funding that the school district has. So it is an issue. 3 years ago, we were looking at about 35 students in charter schools. Now we are over 55. And that is a very significant impact on our budget. Let's go to the next slide. We also have to project the total labor costs for all our bargaining units in the district. This includes contracts that have already been settled, as well as projected costs for future contracts. The next slide. So here is another area where it is very difficult to control the budget, the employee benefits. This includes health insurance costs, retirement, social security, which is the employer portion of social security and Medicare, unemployment, life insurance, and workers' compensation. But of all these benefits, the health insurance piece is the most expensive. And the next 3 slides, I'll show you how much health insurance costs have increased over the last couple of years. This chart shows exactly how much we paid in the 2012 school year through the 2021 school year. You can see that the red line shows a steady increase from year to year. And in fact, it dips down in the 1920 school year. But come COVID, we were getting a lot of things for free. Really, they were not for free. The insurance companies turned around and started to bill us. And now we are beginning to see double-digit increases in our health insurance premiums. Let's go to the next slide. As you can see, the last 3 years, the cost of individual premium and family premiums have gone up over 34%. Let's go to the next slide. This is also very telling. In the 2014 school year, we paid about $20,000 for family coverage. Now it is hovering around $40,000 per employee, which is about 100% increase from 2014. This is a huge cost on the district. And this is something that puts a lot of stress on the budget as we go along. Next budget, next slide. So let's go back to the other slides. We talked about the mascots. Last year, around April 2023, we received a directive from the state telling us that all school districts certain school districts, we have the warrior logo, and they were telling us that we should get rid of that by 2025. Even though the school district got together, we got together with other school districts to fight it, because we are uncertain what the outcome will be. We have to continue, or we have to start to budget for the possibility of cleaning it up, or changing our mascot, or changing our athletic uniform. And those are very expensive. When we get to the line-by-line budget, which the board is going to start looking at on March 16th, you would see the impact of this legislation on our budget. It is huge. And because it's a mandate, we don't have a choice. We have to do something, and we have to start preparing for it. Now, I already spoke about state aid, so I'm not going to repeat myself here, but these are the sources of revenues that we get. Also, when you go back to the budget drivers, I talked about the insurance premium, commercial insurance. And this is not because of the district experience in the insurance market, but it's because of cyber threat throughout the nation. The insurance companies have begun to increase their premiums, and all those factors have to be included in the budget. And the last point that I want to talk about, and I want you to go to the slide that have the red on it, the budget drivers. Go back. Thank you. The district signed an agreement with Honeywell about 2 years ago. And the purpose of that agreement is to begin energy performance contract. An energy performance contract, it's energy efficient measures that the district takes to reduce energy costs. And the savings from the energy cost will be used to finance the energy conservation measures. So this is another expense that you'll be seeing when you go through the line by line budget. So next March 6th, I would encourage all of you to come to the board meeting when the board will be going line by line on the budget, and it will show you what the drivers are, and most of these drivers that you see here will be in the budget. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Bawatsi. Board of Education, do you have any questions for Ms. Bawatsi for the budget, from our budget presentation? All right. So at this point in time, as was pointing out in the beginning of the budget presentation, this is just the first part of the budget presentation, which is meant just to explain to the community about budget drivers, about the revenues that every district is responsible, but every district is part of their budget. When Ms. Bawatsi was talking about the line by line, as we move forward, that information will be provided on the website ahead of time. So therefore, the community can be able to look at the line by line, just as the Board of Education is looking at the line by line. So what that means for everything that occurs in the district, there's a number, there's a code connected to it, a number, and it goes across, and it says how much has been budgeted for, how much has been expensed, how much has been encumbered, and how much we have left. So that's what's meant by line, what Ms. Bawatsi was talking about. So we do encourage you to come back for the next budget presentation. That one will be a lot longer and a lot more detailed as we move forward. Right? So this is just the initial part of a series of budget presentations that will take place. So board members, do you have any questions for Ms. Bawatsi at this point in time? Mr. Leon?
Hi, and thank you for the presentation. Are you able to let us know what is the allowable tax levy? Or
Not tonight, as we move
Not
forward
tonight.
at the next
That
meeting.
will be on March 13th. There will be a whole presentation on how it is calculated.
Any other questions, excuse me, for any other board members? All right, thank you, Ms. Bawatsi. So at this point in time, I just want to explain to the community how the Board of Education meetings are operated, just in case you have not attended a meeting or you have not listened online. So there's 2 times in the meeting that community members can ask questions. It's going to occur in just a few minutes, and that's connected to any agenda items. So anything that's on the agenda, you can ask a question. if there's anything that's not on the agenda, that's considered a non-agenda item. And there'll be another time at the end of the meeting that you'll have an opportunity to ask any questions that are not on the agenda. So at this point in time, the only thing that I do ask from the community, that when you do come to the mic, that you need to give your question to Melissa over here, who is the district clerk. Right? Once she receives your question, you just need to state your name. You do not have to give your address whatsoever. During the point in time for the meeting for agenda items, it's 15 minutes, and you have 3 minutes to speak. For the non-agenda items, it's 30 minutes, and you have 3 minutes to speak, but we will also need the questions as well, right? So at this point in time, the only other thing that I do request as well, that in order to hear the voices of everyone that would like to speak tonight, I request that you do stick to the 3 minutes. There will be a buzzer that will go off if you reach your 3 minutes, and that will be the end of that time. And then respectfully request that you sit down. And also, as another reminder, I just want to emphasize, as I've done in previous meetings, for those who have attended, to remind everyone to show respect to individuals who approach the podium. And every voice deserves to be heard at this point in time. And we as a board are committed to continue to collaboration with all stakeholders. So at this point in time, if there's any questions regarding agenda items only, please come to the mic.
Hi, Terry Holman. I'm an alumni. I graduated last year. Representing everybody that has come here, I know that last year you guys kept telling me that you wish that there was more people that came to these meetings, that there were more people to speak up. So as representing everybody here, could we please have a little bit more time for the non-agenda community items?
At this point in time, when we get to the point, I'll make a decision. Okay,
Alrighty, thank you.
thank you. So we're just taking questions on agenda items only at this point in time. So anything that's on the agenda, if you receive an agenda, so that will be connected to the budget presentation, the academic calendar, donation of sick times, under the business and curriculum instruction. So any questions connected to those items? Thank you.
Before you start the timer,
Can you
I-
just
yeah.
speak up?
Wendy Canestro, before you start the timer, I just want to say your security guards, we're going through it again. They're saying the community cannot come in until 7:30.
Okay,
Open
we'll,
meeting, I mean, we've gone through this many times.
we'll address it. Thank you.
They're saying that you're
We'll-
telling them that we're not allowed in.
We'll address it. We'll address it. Thank
Okay,
you.
great.
Question.
Okay, regarding a couple of things. First, on the agenda, you have conferences listed on there on recommendations for the Blue Ribbon Committee. The Blue Ribbon Committee has made recommendations to state ed, but there's been no decision. So I'm not sure why we're again spending money sending them there without nothing solidified. Maybe you could use the money towards students and leave the principals in the building. That's the first thing. The second thing is, it was interesting, a lot of the things that were said today, accountability, transparency. It's shocking to hear the words and like not the actions behind it. We talked about a fragile budget, but we've had a balanced budget in years past, even with the 0% increase.
So Ms. Canestro, just to stop the time for a second, you're leading to a question about something on the agenda?
Yeah, I'm
Okay,
talking
go.
about the budget,
Okay.
since it was the budget.
Okay,
So a couple
so-
of things. So I'm just addressing what Dr. Talbert said. She said, these took years, but in 1 year, the audit says that you dropped 3.6 million depleting your savings. So that's not really correct. So a couple of my questions are, number one, I'm unsure why the board's first solution was not to amend. We had a proposition last year to put $4 million in capital reserves for middle school projects, because that's what your priority was. Why was there not a discussion of a proposition to amend that proposition from last year to put 3.6 million back into the general funds, put 600,000 back into the reserves to replenish it, and nobody would have lost their jobs? Why wasn't that the first thing? That seems like the first thing that you should have done. Is there a reason that wasn't done?
Continue with questions, please.
Oh, okay, we're not answering questions? Okay.
Thank you. No, Ms. Canestro, it's not that I'm not answering questions. There are other people who may want to ask questions. So at this point in time, so excuse me, excuse me, excuse me. If the meeting does not stay quiet, so therefore we can hear what everyone has to say, then we will not continue with the meeting. So please do not yell out from the audience. All right, so please do not yell. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm respectfully requesting that everyone remains quiet because we need to be able to hear the person who is at the mic. When people attend the meetings, typically what we do, if we're able to answer a question, we will answer the question. If we cannot answer the question, people know from previous meetings that a response will be provided. So I am requesting that those in the audience, just as we are sitting here listening to the person who's at the mic, I'm requesting for those in the audience, do not call out because that impacts the person who's at the audience, is at the podium. So please do not call out when someone is at the podium. When we take all the questions, when that person is finished, at that point in time, we will either answer the question or not answer the question. So once again, in order to maintain order in the meeting, you cannot call out. Thank you. Go ahead, Ms. Canestro.
Okay, reminder to the audience, the board works for us. Okay, so as far as the drivers that was mentioned in the budget presentation, it should be noted that every district faced almost all the same drivers, and the other districts did not land on a significantly financial stress designation from the New York State Controller's Office. They somehow managed. Also, let's see, I have a couple of other things. I want to know if you're making all these cuts this year to teachers, you're driving up the classrooms, and you said that it's going to be the least impactful on programs and services, but that actually impacts the students directly. And if you were to make these cuts and you were going to balance the budget in 1 year, in one budgetary cycle, you catch up, what happens in the next year? Like, this can't be the game plan, right? Because kids cannot be served with no teachers in the classroom, with overcrowded classrooms. There has to be an educationally sound plan here. Like, there just seems no plan. I felt like the budget presentation, Dr. Talbert's thing, was a deflection to your dereliction of duty.
Thank you, Ms. Canestro.
Hello, my name is Ken Egan. I'm going to have three kind of quick questions. Earlier, you had said state aid numbers in comparison to other schools and other towns. Could you
Just kind of lift
Yeah,
the mic up. Yeah, thank you.
So state aid in comparison to other schools and other towns, like comparable between what Amityville's like. Do you guys have any other schools or districts, just so we can get an idea, like conceptually?
So just do me a favor, just do all your questions, and what we'll do is that we'll
Certainly.
provide.
Okay.
Go ahead.
The second one, you said in 2024, it's going to be the end of the ARP government program. What's the actual financial impact that we were getting every year for the last 3 years? And what's going to be the impact when it stops? Like, what's the actual number amount, just so we can get a better concept of what we're looking at?
Okay.
And then one clarification, if somebody could help me understand, is it $20,000 per students that are going to charter schools that are coming out of the district for those students? Or did I misunderstand that? Because
Okay, excuse me. Excuse me.
easy. We need cohesiveness, you know?
So excuse me, I'm sorry. So Dr. Talbot, I know that Ms. Canestro had a couple of questions as well. I'm not too sure if you're able to answer those questions. If not, if there any of these questions that were presented by Mr. Egan that we can answer tonight. I think there's one about the APR, there's one about the charter school. And I know with the charter school, it's $20,000 that the district has to be responsible for students who go to charter school. So if there's 10 kids who go to charter school, then it's $20,000 per kid. That's $200,000. That's a cost to the district.
Right, that's
So-
not going to the district.
That's not going to the
Okay.
district. District has to, so what happens is, that's why you see in some districts throughout New York State, that's why they oppose charter schools, because of the fact that public schools have to pay for the charter schools. So that was that particular point.
Okay.
For the APR, That's something that is COVID funding. I don't know the exact number. I think as we move forward with the budget and line by line, we will have those exact numbers. I don't know it off the top
I
of my
figured that
head.
would be helpful for us
Yeah.
to get an idea of how big the
Yeah,
issue is gonna be.
those numbers we definitely will have
Okay.
as we move forward, because that's something that everyone needs to understand, that was money that all districts got
Mhm.
throughout New York State, throughout the United States. And now that money is now gone. And that's some of the things that they are saying, that that money being gone will impact
Sure.
districts.
Okay.
And
Thank you.
the last question was,
Who we are in comparison to other school
that's something that
districts.
I think as we
just-
move forward, we can
Okay.
provide that in the presentation. Is there any of the questions from Ms. Canestra that we're able to answer? I'm just trying to see if there's anyone else that's coming. Okay, go ahead.
Nakia Wolf, 100 Avalon Court, Melville, New York. I don't have a question, but more about a statement. Many of the things that it is that were presented tonight in terms of,
We just, yeah,
in terms of drivers, those are factual things. But I want to make sure that it is that we tell the whole entire picture. It was said that it is that this was something that didn't happen overnight. And that is a possibility, but we don't know. What we do know is that the district has had budgetary surplus 2 years in a row prior to us being in a deficit last year. That's number one. AP, the grant funding that it is that we got, other districts got too. We have to start thinking about how is it that we utilize those monies and whether that contributed to where it is that we find ourselves. And the other piece is that every single district has in the same position that it is that we are in terms of monies. Now, the wealth index that it is that we're talking about, that is something that handcuffs our district. Nonetheless, budgets and the planning for that is what it is that we're supposed to do to mitigate that. So there are going to be things that are unexpected, but budgets increase from year to year. They don't stay flat. So if they increase from year to year, and there have been surpluses, and there was a thought that you were running in a surplus, to say that it is that this was not a surprise, but then to say that it is a surprise, I think we have to kind of figure out which one it is that we're saying. Because that is problematic, and it's not, and people are not getting the whole entire picture. So facts are great, but you have to make sure that you include all of the facts as it relates to the drivers and the financial situation that we're faced with.
Excuse me, thank you. Any other questions regarding the agenda?
Terry Holman, just one quick question. Is the middle timer supposed to be stopped when you guys are talking or there's an interruption? Because it was to our knowledge that was for the community to speak and it hasn't been paused.
So when I go to speak, it's supposed to be paused, yes.
Okay.
All right, so any other questions regarding agenda items? Go ahead.
Can you add 5 minutes to that? Because you guys
If
haven't
we-
spoken.
If we do need it, I definitely will for agenda items. Yes,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Any other questions regarding agenda items?
Yes, so, we're crying about state aid, but we do get $44.5 million of state aid, and we're getting almost $1 million more. I'm confused how a trustee asked what the allowable tax cap levy is without needing a supermajority vote, and it's not being answered at a budget meeting in front of the community. How did you cut people without knowing what the budget, the tax cap was? How did that happen? The second thing is, I would like to know what programs and activities have been cut prior to you deciding to cut staff.
So at this point in time, Dr. Talbot, have there been any programs that have been cut? No.
So you cut
That's-
no programs and you cut teachers before programs.
So at this point in time, Ms. Canestro, at this point in time, what we have done, we have informed the individuals in the district in terms of teachers, monitors, custodial staff, clerks, that they will not be coming back at the end of June. We're still in the process of going through the budget. We're just in the beginning. Just when you're asking about, we're in the beginning. This was just the initial phase.
Okay, I really
So
have to
there-
address this.
there
We
will be
understand
other
what you're
things.
saying. But
Okay?
what you did is I came to a meeting last Wednesday. There was no mention that there was going to have to be any accessing. You know, there was going to be personnel cuts through attrition. There was no transparency with that. You nuked people's lives on Friday with no warning. You're saying that you didn't cut programs and you didn't review it. How did a decision be made? Let me speak, please.
No,
How did a
Ms.
decision be
Canestro?
made to cut people's jobs
Ms.
without
Canestro,
looking at the
I'm
programs
going
or the
to s-
activities first? And how do you not know the
Ms.
tax cap
Canestro, I'm
levy?
going to stop you here
Because
because
you
what you're,
disagree with
no,
me?
I don't disagree. What I'm saying to you is that at this point in time, you are talking about the budget, but this is more detailed. So the key is this.
Budget meeting.
Wait a second, wait a second. Let me finish. You're making a statement about what happened with the budget. Couple things. There was a whole process that occurred in terms of decision-making and accessing individuals. It was not an easy thing that occurred. Central administration did it the right way. They talked to all the bargaining units. It was done the right way. So at the meeting, we're not going to say to you, oh, next week on this day, there's going to be excess, because individuals had to be notified the right way, and it was done the right way.
Well,
Okay.
you could have said accessing has become necessary. Sometimes it has to happen. I get it,
And-
but you have to be transparent with the community. Okay. I do think that if you did a broad overview, it would have looked at programs, at activities, and teachers. You really want to have a minimal impact on accessing teachers and staff, right? Because that impacts children directly. Grades 3 through 8, 3/4 of them can't read and write. And now they're going to be more at a disadvantage with higher classrooms, overstressed teachers. You have teachers taking on 1 or 2 more extra classes. They're going to be burnt out. People are just going to keep leaving. You're talking about the charter schools. The district budgets for per student, per pupil. When somebody goes to a charter school, the money follows the charter school. Per New York State Ed, it's 16,500 per student, which is less than the per pupil ratio that's being given to Amityville, so it's less. But the money follows. You're budgeting per student. It's not an unknown cost again. As the previous speaker said, all of these are known costs, you know, and I don't know why everybody's surprised. I don't know why everybody's saying you didn't know. I don't know why you're saying it happened over years when this Board of Education, everybody right here, lost 3.6 million in 1 year, in one budgetary cycle. So it's not really being straight. It's not being transparent, like you said. There's no accountability. It's everybody's fault. It's everybody else's fault except for your own. Maybe just say, we made mistakes. We want to do better for the community. I mean, honestly, all of you should be voted out.
Good evening.
You can take the mic out if you want. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. I'm a Amityville Village mother of 2 in the district, both in elementary school. In terms of program cuts, I'd like to read out a message that I received today from the Northeast Elementary School for my daughter's STEAM program that was once again postponed until further notice. So in terms of not cutting programs, I would like to say that this reads, once again, I regret to inform you that the after-school STEAM Academy program scheduled to start Thursday, February 15th, has been postponed until further notice. We apologize for any inconvenience. So now, as of today, I can tell you that this is just fluff to say that there's probably no budget to cover for this program. But now moving on to my questions. You mentioned that the grants to be expired now fall of 2024. When did you become aware of this? And why was no action taken in advance to mitigate these risks?
So, excuse me, all the APR grants, everyone knew that they were ending in 2024. And that was part of the process that occurred last year, that we were trying to see what we could incorporate into our general budget in order to cover the position. Yes, everyone was aware of it. Everyone was new.
Okay.
And the program may have been delayed, but it's a grant funded program. So the money is there for the program. So I'm not too sure why it was delayed.
My second question is, you mentioned that there was an influx of hire of teachers to cover for COVID, but what exactly is that number and how does it compare to the number of cuts that we're facing today?
So that number that I don't have, but as we move forward with the budget, we can make that part of the process to let everyone know how many individuals were hired under the funding from the COVID, and we can give you that information.
I think that's an important detail to see if that actually offsets what we're facing today, post and pre and post COVID. Now, you called out that there's an impact in funding for charter schools, and then you mentioned, and you put a dollar figure to that 20,000. But you mentioned that there's an increased enrollment to the district as well. So what's a dollar figure there? I'm sure that there's an increase in budget funding for additional enrollment. Am I correct?
We don't get money for students when they come into the district. We just get a blanket amount from the state. So it's not like we get money for students to come to public school.
So it doesn't get rebalanced with the amount of students that go into charter schools?
No. No, we just lose the money. All districts will lose the money.
Now, my last question here is that you showed a health insurance comparison of a 10-year difference. I'm not sure how is that really relevant in terms of, like, I'm sure that with the cost of living adjustment that offsets itself.
I think it was just a point that she was just trying to make, that health insurance through the years have gone up. I think that was just the point in the slide. That was it. So
Yeah,
it's like you said, they do go up.
I just feel that there's none of the information that you've shared, and I'm sure maybe next week we'll see that is very tangible. It feels like a lot of fluff.
No, so like I said, just make sure the clock is paused. This was not meant to be a line by line budget. This was just to say, these are the drivers, these are the revenues, that was it. So it was not, generally, most first presentations are not very detailed. So to your point, there's not a lot of depth to it. But as we move forward, there'll be more depth. Thank you.
And Egan, one last question. The employees that were removed, the 39 of them, or I don't know what the number is now, do you know what the impact would be next year on the budget? Is it, that's at, $60,000 or $50,000 at 39 people, it's like 2 million?
So
Somewhere around there.
as we move forward, that information we'll be able to provide to show
Okay.
you that.
I think that'll also be helpful
Yes.
because of all those
line by line.
removals, how it's going to impact that budget.
Correct. Thank you. Just give, yeah.
Thank you. So my question
Just,
is,
excuse me, just move the mic closer to you. You can take it out of the hand if you like. Thank you.
so my question relating to the layoff. So would the board be able to share with the community the criteria that was used to determine what staff would be let go?
So that's based on seniority, correct? It's based on seniority.
Can that something be made, is it something that's possibly made public? If I want to see the valuation for all of the staff that were let go, is there any way we can characterize that?
You can, Mr. Sheenan, who's our legal, I'll double check. I don't believe community is allowed to see evaluations of employees in the district.
No, it's not relevant.
Yeah, it's just, it's based on when they were looking at accessing positions, it was based on seniority. There's a whole list that's established for different unions in terms of seniority list.
Well, I think as a member of this community, I think we need to ensure that there's some,
You just need, just speak closer to the mic.
I think as a member of the community, we should be able to clearly identify what criteria was used in terms of, so at least to ensure there's some equity across the layoffs.
The only criteria that is used, and please correct me, Mr. Sheenan, or Dr. Talbot, is seniority. We don't, they can't, it's by seniority. Am I correct? That's it. That's the only criteria that we're allowed to use.
Okay. Just for the record's sake, if I need information pertaining to the criteria, would that be to me as a committee member in writing?
We can, but it's not going to change. It's based on.
I know it won't change
Yeah.
anything. I just need to see that for
Yeah,
myself.
that's fine.
Because this is very soft answer you're giving me.
Okay,
Thanks.
you're welcome.
Brendan McGlone. Just in regards to the seniority list that were just asked about, I just want to confirm that they are maintained yearly. I know per our educational law, we do not need to maintain them. are we maintaining them as a district yearly, or are we making them up right now? Are they correct for the seniority list?
So the Board of Education was informed before they started the process with the seniority list that everything was confirmed between the superintendent, the human resources, as well as with the unions to confirm that the seniority list was correct. So it was not someone just came out and said, boom, it was a confirmation that occurred with everyone to make sure that they were accurate.
Well, is the staff able to view their seniority from last year? Do
Yes.
they have that? Okay.
Mm.
It's important because it's not required. And I just want to make sure that if we're making the seniority list, that it is up to date from last year, because it's possible for some shady business to happen in regards for the seniority list.
No,
I just want-
that's why it was, all the unions were able to review the seniority list to make sure that the list was accurate, as well as the human resources, everyone, it was reviewed prior to.
Got it.
Okay.
And one more question, just in regards to programming, question regarding programming. If we're cutting the teachers, how are we going to supply the program? How do we tell teachers that they have to stay?
Mhm.
How are we going to pay teachers extra? Like, where's that money coming from if we don't have it? How are we going to tell teachers that to run these clubs that are staples within the building, you should and placate to the emotional side of being a teacher, that these are your students that you care for? How are we going to tell them possibly, if you want that to happen, you should be staying here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday? Like I know you can't tell them to do that, but that's what they're going to feel, right? They are going to feel that. And they're going to be burnt out, right? Am I not forecasting this correctly?
We don't know, but keep going. Thank you.
Yeah. I think that's it for now.
Right, thank you. So at this point in time, we're going to move on with the agenda. So, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Hello, Megan Messman. Good evening, everyone. Is it not apparent to you that the community and the staff are not happy with your budget proposal? We haven't even seen it yet. You haven't told us what our tax cap is. Are you going to go back to the drawing board and reconsider how you're going to make this budget work?
Yeah, we said.
You said you're gonna
at the
do that?
At the future meetings, there'll be the line by line budget presentation, yes.
You said you were going to do a line by line budget presentation. Are you going to reconsider the potential accessing of the teachers that we need in this school community?
So when we make sure that the time is start, when we do the line by line, when we did it last year with the line by line budget
I was here.
presentation.
Yeah.
One of the things that we did do, we looked at a lot of different things, maybe something needed to be reduced. Maybe something go to a different
Yeah.
area. So to answer your question directly, as we're going through the process, if there's something that we can say that we're going to move here, take it out, and we can bring a teacher back, bring a monitor back, bring a clerk, that's what we'll look at. That's the process with the line by line.
Dr. Talbot, you said you reached out to a local legislator earlier, who I reached out as well. I inquired about a New York State Education Department monitor to help with our fiscal crisis. What was the conversation that you had?
So at this point in time, because the question has to be directed to me, so at this point in time, we have been reached out to Kimberly Jean-Pierre. That's not connected with the budget, but we reached out to Kimberly Jean-Pierre, Dr. Talbot did, and there's information that's being gathered, and once we get all the details back, we will give you an update of what occurred, because right now there's things that's happening, things are being looked at. She's aware that people have asked for a fiscal monitor, and once a decision is made about that, then if it's going to happen or not happen, we'll definitely let the community know.
I think that's budget related. And last week you told me that you were going to tell us about the middle school project as well during this budget presentation.
It will come along. It will. Okay, thank you.
Madam
So
President.
no, Mr. Leon, hold on a second, please. So at this point in time, that was the timer. Just hear me out. Just hear me out 1 second. That was the timer for agenda items. So do you have a question regarding the agenda? And I'll take the question so we can.
I have a question, but I don't know if this is the right meeting for the question, because it's a lot of stuff that went over the bow. I'm here for one reason only, and she touched on it. She mentioned something about $3 million missing.
Okay.
Hold on.
No, hold on. So that question, we definitely want to hear what you have to say. If it's regard to $3.6 million deficit that we're currently in, right? At the end of the items that are on the agenda, I will have you come back as the first person and you can finish with your question and we'll go from there. So if you can be the first one that will come back. If you want to stay right there, you'll be the first one to come back. So at this point in time, we're going to go on to the agenda. Can I have a motion for agenda item 3A1, please? Jeanette Santos is first for agenda item 3A1. Leslie Kretz is second. Any questions regarding this agenda item? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye, the motion carries 6-0. Can I have a motion to amend the agenda to add a resolution for a consultant service agreement?
So moved.
Hold on a second, let me just let me just explain. So we are, yeah. So I'll do that for consultant service agreement. Can I have a motion? So Carol Seahorse first,
Second.
Jeanette Santos is second. So in regards to the consultant service agreement, it is the board is amending this agenda to add a financial consultant to work in tandem with the auditors and the district to review the financial situation, both past and present. At this point in time, if we just amended the agenda to add him, if the consultant is approved by the Board of Education, the consultant agreement will be available tomorrow by contacting the district clerk. So I will read the resolution. Be resolved upon the recommendation of Superintendent Dr. Gino Talbot that the Board of Education of Amityville Union Free School District does hereby approve the agreement with Carl Frazier for the 23-24 school year and authorizes the Board of Education to execute said agreement. The cost for this individual will be $150 per hour with a maximum of 100 hours, right? Any other questions or comments from the board on this particular item? Can I have a motion to approve agenda item 3A2, please? Can I have a motion to approve agenda item 3A2? No, that was for the amendment of the agenda. So Carol is approving.
So moved.
Carol Seehoff is first. Who's going to be second?
Second.
Leslie Kretz is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, the motion carries. Mr. Leon, is that a yes or no?
Oh, I said I, and Ms. Johnson, I had a question for one of the gentlemen that came up.
Okay, so
before.
Mr. Leon, we're going to go through the agenda. And when we come
No,
back, you
that's-
can ask a question,
That's
okay?
fine.
So the motion carries 6-0. Can I have a motion for agenda item 3B1, please? Leslie Kretz is first. Just speaking to the mic because they can't hear you.
Second.
Carol Seehoff is second. Any questions about this agenda item? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye, motion carries 6-0. Can I have a motion for agenda item 3C1 through 2, please?
So moved.
Jeanette Santos is first. Dave Heller is second. Any questions regarding these agenda items? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye, the motion carries 6-0. Can I have a motion for agenda item 3F1, please?
So moved.
Jeanette Santos is first.
Second.
Leslie Kretz is second. Any questions regarding this agenda item? See none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, the motion carries 6-0. At this point in time, we're going back to community input regarding non-board agenda items, right? So the gentleman that was here, he can come back to the mic. As a reminder, please do not call out from the audience, so therefore we can hear the question or comment that's being stated. If we're not able to answer the question tonight, then the question will be provided back to you. If there are any students who want to come to the mic to speak, I respectfully request that you guys come up, so therefore we can hear the voice of the students if any students want to speak. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, good night. Can everybody hear me?
Just kind of state can you give your name if you don't want to?
My name is Julius Reynolds.
Okay,
And as I said the first time I came up here, I'm here for one reason only.
just hold the mic in your hand because it's gonna, thank you.
From what I understand, there's 3.6 million you said was missing. And for me, I need to know where it went. Now, just so you get a little history of me, I've sat on many boards. I'm currently on one as I speak. And when there's a discrepancy, money, or anything else that happened, it's our fault. And we want answers because we have treasurers, secretaries for a reason. So when things get misplaced, somebody need to know where it went, how it went, who it went to. When we don't get those answers, then we start replacing bodies to find until we get to where we need to be. You said a lot of things today, and I don't want to take up a lot of time because I can do that. A lot of things were said, but there's no accountability. Nobody really spoke other than young lady over here about that money. That's a lot of money to be missing and nobody know where it is. And then I'm hearing stuff like it's just happening now. You guys say you sat down and you discussed it. You talked about it as far as the teachers getting fired. I just heard it like 2 days ago. It's kind of my fault that I haven't been at these meetings, but you believe I will be at them from here on out after this. Now, you said that you may or you may not be able to come up with an answer. That answer should be able to be presented tonight because your treasurer, your secretary is here, right? They not? Well, they should be. If it's a meeting, if it's a meeting and we're discussing these things, even if they're not here, it should be presented on paper what happened and whatever, because you can't not thought that wasn't going to come up.
Okay.
That's my question.
Okay.
Can
Thank
you
you.
answer that tonight, or that's not going to be answered tonight?
No, because I'm going to hear everyone else who's behind you.
That's what I thought.
Thank you.
My name is Carla Benitez. I am a high school junior at Amityville Memorial High School. My main concern is that you guys say that you prioritize our well-being, that you prioritize all of our opportunities that we have at school, that you care about us. Yet you're going around and removing all of the teachers that perhaps have helped us, not just in an education standpoint, but in a mental standpoint as well. We are students that are in constant need of guidance, and yet that is being taken away. How could you do that to us? We are your future. We might one day be sitting in your exact same seats. And what are we going to be doing then? We don't have a right example to follow. So what then? Tell me, why are we doing this to our generation? Why are we doing this to the future? That is it.
Thank you.
My name is Eli Laquidera, and I'm speaking on behalf of the high school. I am a sophomore. From last year and through nationwide for the past couple of years, there has been a national teacher shortage, and it has been shown at our school. Just last year, me and hundreds of other students were left without teachers. Last year, I was left for 2 quarters and more than that without an English teacher for more than half the year. And then when she returns after a few weeks, she quits her job. Over 60 from the span of September to June last year, teachers have quit their jobs to go find better paying jobs and more secure jobs at other school. So my question is, why are we firing more staff members and teachers when we're already in a clear shortage and kids are missing out on classes, important ones that they have to take for regents, because you guys can't supply teachers, because you guys obviously don't know how to work out your money?
Hello? You guys can hear me, right? All right,
Just maybe take the mic out because as you start to talk, just leave it close to your mouth so everyone can hear you.
Here? Good? Everyone hear me? All right. Hello, my name is April Kenny. I'm 11th grader from Amityville Memorial High School, and I have 2 main questions. One of them is that the cut of money why we're trying to pay for, especially in my school,
ID scanners. However, I still see people skipping in our classes. And I also see that even weapons have brought into our school and also other substances in my freshman year. And why, mind you, these ID scanners, I am sure that are not that short of money. I am sure that they're very expensive and they work to only some extent, but they're not working to full potential. So if you're putting your money into that for our safety, for our health, why aren't we putting into something like actually something that's going to protect us and protect us students from future harm? That is my first question. And my second question is, of course, our teachers. Our teachers work very hard every day and try to be there for their students in their own specific classes. They're even there for their kids, for their mental health, even though we are the lowest paying school in our districts. These teachers' lives have been affected and also saddened, and I don't think we focus enough on that. Why are we doing this while there are other teachers that aren't looking for their students and don't teach their classes, and there's students that are failing regents because of that? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Delaney Katz, and I'm a sophomore at Amityville Memorial High School. Over the past week, we have all been devastated after seeing the events that have occurred. And that is why we are here today, to explain the impact that this has on us, the students. You have accessed over 30 people of the staff in this district, people with children, people who have been tenured, people that the students are close with, some of which only find comfort and trust in certain teachers and workers that have already been accessed. You are taking away the bonds we have built with the staff here, the people we trust. You have been accessing teachers when some teachers have already been teaching extra classes. So what's next? Is it our electives, our clubs, our sports? If you get rid of any of these, it takes away our creativity and what makes us, us. My elective is the only time other than lunch during the day that I can relax. Are you going to take that away from me too? Why is it that you try to blame others for these problems that you face? Why are you trying to find a loophole when it was the board and others that have caused this, and you neglected it and you couldn't see it until it was too late? This problem is now not only affecting you, us, the students, the teachers, but the whole community. How is it fair that the first proposition you proposed is to raise the taxes by 3% when you neglected the money? How come no action was taken on the board? Why has no one been fired, let alone put in jail? Is it because the board is not qualified enough? You're not qualified enough, not for this situation? What about other possible solutions like tech? Tech transportation costs $10 million each year. And instead, you just you don't try to find the other solutions. You just settle for what is easiest. What I think is that you, the board, and the central office are in denial that you have neglected millions of dollars. Why is it that you try to blame others for your mistakes? In the Amityville records, the head of the district's custodial unit has stated that the hiring freeze is causing people to be scared. They are scared to take sick time as well as being told not to, for fear that they might lose their jobs. How is that okay? This community did not start with the best reputation. And now what will happen if people see the way you have treated the staff here? Thank you.
Are there any more students that want to speak? Because I want to take the students first. Any more students? All right. Go ahead. You can take the microphone out.
Hello, my name is Allie McLone. I reside at 2 Bayview Place, Amityville. For anyone here who doesn't know me, I was a member of this Board of Education in Amityville between 2017 and 2020. As a K through 12 alumni of this district and a former member of this board, I'm here in support of this community, for my nieces and nephews who attend this district, for my 1-year-old daughter and what her future holds, and for all the teachers who did not deserve this fate. While I'm fully aware of how a school board is supposed to run, I can confidently say that while the board can't necessarily be blamed directly for the debt we are in, they must absolutely be held accountable for all of the people they've been hired over the last few years who are responsible for mismanaging these funds. The irony of the superintendent's letter to the community is that it states this was done to lessen the blow for student programs and services. But if you don't have enough teachers behind these programs, the kids will suffer either way. While I'm not here to compare anything about my time on this board to yours now, and I know firsthand that being a board member is not easy, this situation is unacceptable because it is something that could have been avoided with less people pleasing and more work done with the best interests of the kids in mind. Sometimes taking the more difficult road while facing scrutiny from some is the road worth taking if it means the kids, their families, and the teachers who are on the front lines every day don't have to suffer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nakia Wolf, 100 Avalon Court, Melville. Good evening. I stand here before you without peace. I stand here before you without hope. As a leader, we are trained, for those willing to invest the time, to see the bigger picture. So here's the big picture. You thought you had money, yet negotiations took forever until they were essentially not. We asked for your presence to make you aware. You chose not. You ran on a platform of change, checks and balances, but many of these seem absent. Instead, you've managed to turn hope into despair, and you have set ablaze declining morale so that all is left is rage. That said, our professionalism stays intact as we still try to work with you, only to realize that such collaboration is a meaningless effort. I speak as a voice for my members and as an advocate for our students and the entire community of Amityville. We are all interconnected as evidenced by the pain we are all sharing in this moment. 34 of our bright stars have been invested in while they have made connections with students, families, and community. Gone, not because of performance, but due to facts that you haven't completely uncovered yet. Tonight, union leadership wants you to look and see the pain that you've caused, because people are more than just years of service. You have impacted their lives, the lives of their family, and that of the students. You can't continue to claim that you put students first when you put teachers last. For the voiceless administrators who shouldered the pain of breaking the news to our members with us, thank you. The fact that you were left out of the conversation regarding the needs of your building as the excess list was being developed is nothing less than deplorable. So what does that mean? Do you now go behind closed doors and handpick who you want based on means, based on things absence of ethics and protocol? This is an embarrassment. We are tired of double and triple tying our shoelaces and then being told to put the shoes on. There is nothing that stands before me that inspires hope. Many of you claim to work together, forget about well, either have no clue as to what is going on or are just standing idly by. There is no confidence that we can be led out of this by you. What we have are people who are trying to escape blame, point fingers, and save their own jobs. You don't operate in conjunction with protocols and procedures because you don't have any. Apparently, the same may hold true for ethics. So, those inside and outside of Amityville, should you choose to listen, we are at an inflection point. We need people who care about our students, our teachers, our districts, and our community as a whole. We don't need the continuation of personal crusades that will add no value to our school district or district that can't even articulate with accountability and transparency how we got here.
Thank you.
Good evening, Francis O'Brien, 684 Bohemia Parkway, Sayville, New York. We, the AT, are disheartened from where we stand today. This crisis will personally affect everyone, not just those in this room, but every student, community member, employee, and stakeholder in this district. What makes this insufferable is we still don't know how or why we are here. We were close to making strides together to improve Amityville and move it forward. The funds were there. Not just the millions of dollars from the foundation aid settlement, but millions from the American Rescue Plan. But you already knew that the rescue plan money was only for a short amount of time. And also, according to the district's own data, there were budget surpluses in the last few years. Yet somehow a vast opportunity has been lost and defeat has been snatched from the jaws of victory. The harm that has been done and will be done to this district may very well be irreparable. So I'm asking the district to please explain, how did we get here? I'm not asking you to answer to me, but to all the stakeholders in this district who will be harmed by this crisis. In regards to the hold harmless clause, yes, the governor is looking at that. However, that would only apply to districts who have flush budget reserve funds. We're close to breaking that 4% cap. Amityville is nowhere near that. As it is, Amityville is the most fiscally stressed state district in New York State, according to the comptroller's report that just came out. For well over a year, we have talked of Amityville being a diamond in the rough. Now, instead of polishing and holding that diamond up for all to see, you have driven it back into the ground like a piece of coal, waiting for the Earth's tectonic plates to apply pressure to it. The pressure on our teachers is real. You have the data. Check your personal action reports. See how many ATA members have stepped up to teach a 6th and in some cases a 7th class. You would know, since district leadership had to appoint them and the board had to approve them for these positions. Many of them did so to fill the gaps left by the 40 teachers who have already left Amityville since August of 2022. This is not sustainable. The decision of district leadership and the board to access 34 teachers as well as additional support staff is a tragedy. Again, this will only increase that pressure as class sizes will grow. This can only have a negative impact on the quality of instruction in the classroom. With the continuing teacher shortage, it is unlikely all positions will be filled by September of 2024. That, coupled with the fact you have an expired contract with the ATA, whose salary scale continues to fall further behind other districts, will discourage qualified candidates to apply to Amityville. This will in turn drive more students out of district into charter schools. We, the ATA, are entrusted with the education of all students. The district is entrusted to lead us in a direction that will help us achieve that goal. Finally, the board is elected and entrusted to be the watchdog and advocate for the community. This system is broken. Trust is non-existent. How can we look to district leadership or the board to lead us out of this crisis? It's the same people who got us into this, and there is no accountability. We have nothing to believe in moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Matt Grice, 85 Krug Road, Islip Terrace. It's ironic that today is Valentine's Day because I, along with everyone behind me and on the sides, are heartbroken over the events of the last week. I thought morale was at rock bottom when we learned in November about the disastrous misappropriation of funds on the part of the district. I was wrong. Delivering the devastating news to our members that 34 teaching positions were being accessed really puts things into perspective. I wanted understood that these individuals are not just names on a list who can quietly and conveniently be erased from the district based on simple, cold, miscalculated decisions. These are our teachers, social workers, and guidance counselors who chose to come to Amityville so that they could make a difference in the lives of our students. They show up every single day and will continue to show up every single day, despite knowing their fate, because our teachers, social workers, and guidance counselors will not abandon their students the way this district has. Now, 32 ATA members will lose their salary and benefits at the end of June. They have families to take care of and bills to pay. But none of this is related to their job performance. These 32 individuals are paying with their jobs for the mistakes of those tasked with protecting the interests of the teachers and students who are part of the Amityville family. Some who have been accessed are here tonight. They deserve to be acknowledged as more than just names on a list. The loss of their daily contributions cannot be overstated. The negative impact on class sizes, student services, and other educational supports is immeasurable, and the workload left to those who remain is unsustainable. If there is one small silver lining for those who are being accessed, it's that there is still a national teacher shortage. Many schools are desperate to find high-quality teachers to fill their vacancies. Just because Amityville hasn't prioritized retaining the best teachers for our students doesn't mean other districts operate the same way. In fact, of the 670-plus districts in the state, we find ourselves at the top of a very short list of districts in financial distress. How can we hope to come back from this when, although there's been plenty of finger-pointing, there has been still no accountability? We still don't fully understand how we got here, and we have to put our faith in the hands of the same group that shares responsibility. We also have serious concerns that the district is significantly underreporting the extent of that deficit as a result of financial documents we've obtained from the state. In a moment, we will be walking out. However, I do not want this to be misinterpreted as an overplayed political stunt. There is no reason to stay, as there is nothing that can be said by anyone on the other side of the table to ease the pain our teachers and students are feeling. Nothing can be said to reassure us that help is on the way or to make us feel that there is a path out of this mess. We are walking out because our time is better spent out there grieving with and supporting our members.
I don't know if you want to wait a few minutes. You want to wait a few minutes? Go ahead. Go ahead.
All right, Terry Holman. I'm an alumni, obviously, and I'm sure you're delighted that I'm back here up at this podium. Amityville will always hold a place in my heart. I graduated from high school here. That being said, my heart is broken into pieces at the state that this district is in. I don't even know how it's up and running. My first question is, do you guys even know what transparency means? In the social sense, it is defined as the quality of being easily seen through, which you guys are not. It seems like you guys think that that word is foreign, and I can assure you everybody here believes that as well. I must state that my sister, she, was a couple of levels below grade level while she attended here. After being 5 months out of the district, she is now almost above grade level. That doesn't mean it's her, it means it's you. You guys say that it's seniority on how, the teachers were excess. I must also state that some of the music teachers were let go when there were art teachers that were newer. So that leads me into the question of how did you decide which teachers were going? Because clearly that method was not transparent. I also have to say that these students are our future. So why are you throwing their futures away? You just are. You're not giving them a chance. $3.6 million is not a little bit of money. I have to say that you guys are here for us. You serve the community. The community voted you in, and that means for the community, you guys can vote them out.
Thank you.
And thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Faith Robinson. I have 5 kids, 4 in the district, 1 in the high school, middle school, Park Avenue, and Northwest. So I'm fully aware of all, everything that goes on in all the buildings and how unacceptable it is that all these teachers are leaving. I do have a question though, because I know that you blamed a lot of the budget issues on money that goes to charter schools and to private schools, so insurance and busing and homeschooling now, because that has become a big thing that's happening in our district because students aren't thriving here. What is this board doing to keep our kids in our schools? Consistently leaving for private schools because their kids aren't getting the education here that they deserve, or they don't feel safe coming here because of all the fights, and because, some kids feel like every day they're going to a jail instead of a school where they can thrive and they can learn and they can be creative and be their best self. Or kids coming home and saying, I don't want to go to school here anymore. I can't learn. It doesn't work for me. I don't want to go to school. Like, this is the attitude that kids are coming home with, and that shouldn't be how school is, and that's not how Amityville was for a long time. I went pre-K through 12 here. I prided my kids on going here. And even my husband and I look to say, what can we do? Because our kids are not getting everything that they deserve in this district. And now you're saying that the best we can do is fire teachers to get our money back under control. In my opinion, Ms. Talbert said something earlier, like, it's years of issues with the budget that have led to this crisis. It's a few years that this board has been here, this unacceptable board that has led us to this crisis. Parents have reached out. Parents have done their due diligence. They've gone to teachers, then they've gone to principals, then they've gone to this board. Last year, when there was no teachers, parents stepped up. Parents asked, why is this happening? What are you doing? Nothing happened. There were still no teachers. And instead of providing an education for these kids just got duplicated quarterly grades. So you're basically telling students that school is not really important. It's just a number on a paper, and it's very easily that we can cheat and just duplicate it because we couldn't provide you a teacher because we didn't do the right thing by hiring a teacher in place of somebody who wasn't going to be here that we knew about. It's the constant lack of accountability and transparency that doesn't happen here that leads our kids to feel like school is worthless. They don't want to be here. And that's not fair. And you guys have to do better, or you just have to just leave. You guys, you're not helping our kids by staying here. Somebody else has got to do this job, and they've got to do it right.
Thank you.
Hello again. Brendan McLone. I'm also an alumni and community member. I'm looking for clarification. If we were to speak upon agenda related items earlier in the session, why was there an amended item added after the fact without any paperwork that we can't address? You know, hiring a financial consultant for $150 an hour right now, I don't know if, you know, that seems like it wasn't in good faith toward your stakeholders here.
So I will answer this question is because there had to be a discussion that occurred in executive session before we could amend the agenda. So this person was not, the board had not met to discuss this individual. So this was an opportunity. When we met tonight, we had to discuss the situation, make a decision, review the contract, and that's why the agenda was amended. We did not want to put the person on the agenda, give backup information, which we're not allowed to give until we knew that we were going to go forward with it to vote on. So that's why.
You are just resolving to vote upon potentially contracting. Is that?
No, what I was saying was that, make sure you stop the clock, that tonight was the first night that the Board of Education had the opportunity to meet this potential consultant. So being that tonight was the first night that we met this consultant, at the same time, we received the contract and we were able to review the contract. At that point in time, the board was said, we can bring it forward and we'll bring it to a vote. That's why it was not on the agenda.
Is it impossible and improbable with our current technology or using just our voice to notify the stakeholders here before we entered into that open session to discuss agenda items, to let them know we will be amending this agenda with one additional item?
That's a good point.
Right?
That's a good point.
We couldn't put it up there, you know?
Yeah, but typically what happens is that when we get to that particular section of the agenda, make sure you pause it. That's when, if there's anything that's going to be amended to add it, that's when it's done. So your point is well taken.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You know, an effort of transparency to have us speak about items that we are looking at on an agenda and then secretly have an item that we're going to bring up. It was secret because you knew you were going to bring it up, right?
We only knew after we had it.
You knew after
We
the
knew
executive
after
session.
executive session.
You knew after executive session. And then we come here to the open public session. We have our presentation from the superintendent and the office, the assistant superintendent of business. And then you open it up for us to discuss items that are written on that page. And there's one item not written on that page.
Okay.
It's not transparent. And that's what I've heard since we've been here. I'd also like to address that I am also a public school teacher in a district in a similar situation, who might be facing excesses. From the private conversations that I've had with some of your excessed members now, it doesn't sound like it was in good faith and in their best interest to speak to them first and then bring it to the board meeting. It also doesn't sound like we followed a good process of preparing your members for the excess that will be happening. It sounds like we do not have a great relationship with the union, and we're not delivering information correctly and in good conscience to them, for them to possibly disperse, that members are going to be excessed. I speak from my own example. I personally had to tell members in the last 2 weeks that they will be excessed, prior to the district coming in with an administrator to hand them the excess paperwork. Why didn't that happen? Why did you, why? How can we not, you're telling teachers now that they're not going to have a position in June for the September school year without prefacing it to them. You brought them in, you called them out of the blue, your administrators. Maybe they weren't even aware they were doing it that day as well. Called in members to tell them that they are excessed. And then from conversations I've heard, followed up with the exiting packet also out of the blue, removing teachers from the classroom during instructional time.
Thank you.
No answer.
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Going to extend the public session a couple of more minutes so everybody has a chance to talk?
I'll see what happens.
Oh, that's great.
I'll let you know.
So I have 2 young daughters in this district, and we have been through many districts over the last couple of years with their education. My ex-husband and his sister went here, and it is quite amazing to me that we have 12 people sitting on a board. Your overview is very fluffy, that you guys cannot contribute and consolidate your debt, that you have to hire somebody at $150 an hour for 10,000 hours because you guys are incapable and incompetent to do it yourself. These are men and women here, mothers, fathers. We do a budget every day of our lives. And I think we do a pretty damn good job of it. I think you do not. I have a daughter that sat last year without an English teacher, without, how many teachers? Math teachers, English teachers, that sat for 6 months when my daughter was uneducated. Uneducated. And you guys say, we don't know how we got into this situation with $3.6 million somewhere swept under the rug, while my child, my younger child, and everybody else's child in here is the one at a loss. I hope the next election that comes around that you will all vote it out of here. As far as I'm concerned, you're all useless. Useless individuals. They have all suffered. They go to school. They suffer when they lack an education. And now you want to double and triple what the kids in class? We know this as a fact with 10 to 15 years of statistics that it is no good. It's not helping anyone. It doesn't help with their learning. Their mental capacity is crippled. And you think this is okay? My child has been to Catholic school. I've been to public schools, to Catholic schools, and in all my life, I've never heard of any such shit that has ever happened here as I did here today. Unbelievable that you guys are still sitting on a board, managing money, people, and teachers when you have not once considered the whole of the masses. They're suffering, and you're going to sit there and make it harder for these kids to learn and finally graduate and make something of themselves when they're lacking and they're put at their effort at the bottom. It's really despicable. I have to honestly, each and every one of you are the most despicable people I've ever seen. Thank you very much for your fluffy overview.
Hi, I wanted to say, you're elected to be fiduciaries. That's a pretty high standard. You're overseeing the taxpayers' dollars with a multi-million-dollar budget. It shouldn't be taken lightly, and it's a pretty big responsibility. We are now, according to the walk-on item, going to pay $15,000 to a consultant to babysit you because you can't do your job. Also, you cut security, and they talk about fights daily in the middle school and the high school. Is the board committing to no overtime? Because it's not a cost-saving measure if you're then going to pay overtime. The other thing is, I didn't get my answer about the proposition. I feel like you should know that offhand. Did you consider the proposition or not? Because nobody would have to be cut if you did that. I've offered so many solutions. I come up here, I've been a big critic. When you've done well, I've told you well. I have been called out by members of this board. My name has been tried to be smeared, or you've tried to discredit me. You've had shills in the audience go after me. You've done it all. I've only been here a short few years, but I've been coming to all these meetings. And by default, you're supposed to be advocates of the taxpayers and children. Nobody on this dais is an advocate. The only person that's an advocate is talking at this podium right now. So, again, I ask that you extend the time. By the way, they cut the time to 30 minutes for public session illegally in the August 2022 meeting. It was supposed to be on an agenda for a first reading per open meetings law. Instead, at the very end of the meeting, they said, P.S., we changed the policy. Violation of the open meetings law, not surprised. I really am excited that people are here that are seeing the absolute circus that is a Board of Education meeting, how the kids are at a disservice at the hands of the Board of Education, at the administrators. There are serious concerns that you had a trustee go on social media to plead out his case about the entire budget. By the way, somebody should probably educate him on grants because he doesn't have a clue. And then he says it's as a private citizen, but signs it as the Board of Education and makes a plea to other Board of Educations, calls out positions by position, and there's only one person in that position, so that's personnel. And now you've probably opened yourself up to litigation. He made a great case why central administration should be fired, but what happens when you get sued because he did that?
My name is Rita Brooks Tyson. I've worked for the district.
Excuse me, just push, I would say take the mic out. Yeah, because so that way you don't have to lean down.
My name is Rita Brooks Tyson. I've been working at Park Avenue School since September. This morning, I was brought into the principal's office and told that I will no longer be needed as of June.
Keep going.
And I'm supposed to feel wonderful and come to work tomorrow and pretend like nothing has happened. I have family that I take care of. What am I supposed to do? Oh, that's not your problem, is it? It's mine. And you made it my problem. Where is the money? Where did it go? What happened to it? What did you spend it on? Because you didn't spend it on the kids. And they are what is important here. I'm here for the kids. You are hurting our children, and you've been hurting our children for years because my kids went through this district. And it's a shame. It's horrible what you're doing. Everybody sit there with their gloomy faces. You don't know nothing, do you? Where's the money? Where did it go? We want to know. And who's going to take care of our children? Because you're doing a lousy job. Thank you.
So, board members, we have reached the end of the 30 minutes for non-agenda items. So we will, we have to do it. This is the protocol. Does the board want to extend the time for 5 minutes, or do you want to close the agenda item?
Madam President, I propose a motion to extend comments.
All right, so, ladies and gentlemen, we'll extend it for 5 minutes. Excuse me, board members. Do you want to extend the non-agenda item comments for 5 minutes? Either it's a yes or a no.
Yes.
Do I have a motion to extend non-agenda items for 5 minutes? Yeah, yes or no? So I have one motion. Do I have a second for the motion? Dave Heller is second. All in support of extending the time for 5 minutes?
Aye.
Aye, so we have 5 minutes. Go ahead.
Margaret Schuff, Amityville. I would like to thank everyone sitting in the audience today. Thank you very much for being here. We've implored people to be showing up to these meetings. We're at a crossroads of devastation because nobody is looking at the body in front of me. But I'm here 2 years now, bitching and moaning and carrying on and congratulating when it is due. It's rare, but it does happen very rarely. But what I'm saying is, thank you everyone for being here. And I would like to see you all here again. Because if all eyes were on this board for the last couple of years and they'd have to be accountable, we might not be in this situation. So everybody think long and hard about showing up every so often to let them know we're watching. Number two, I believe that there is 2 previous teachers on this board. How you sleep at night and seeing what you do and what you vote for is beyond me. And how you sleep is just, I can't even imagine. It's disgusting and shameful. Dr. Talbert, it's deja vu for you all over again. We went from the frying pan to the fire. And the other thing is, I would ask everybody, imploring everyone listening to my voice right now, if you know a CPA, have them run for the school board, because God only knows they need it, and elections have consequences. And every single one of you that are up for a seat should be out and then some. Leadership is not, it's an oxymoron in this district. There is no leadership in this district. It is an absolute oxymoron because they don't know how to lead. They don't know how to present. They don't know how to do anything right. They're ridiculous. You can't get out of your own way, because I sit here for the last few years. You sit here in power and not service. And it is mind-boggling and disgusting. And I think all of these people behind me have had enough.
Thank you. I think there's some students that are behind you. I'm going to take the students first. Can I have the students come forward first, please? Thank you.
Hello, I'm back again. Only recently it has been brought to my attention about 2 days ago that we have had this year an increase of $17 million for our funds without COVID aid and without state aid. I would like to know where that has went and where the $3.6 million went, because it didn't go to Narnia. It didn't go fly off to Neverland with pixie dust. It's obvious that you guys did something with it. You all know what happened to it because you guys are the ones in control of the funds. It is clear that you were too incompetent to control the money and where it goes, and none of you deserve your jobs. As far as I'm concerned, you all deserve to be working at McDonald's.
Hi, my name is Caleb Rivera. I am a sophomore at Amityville Memorial High School, and I'd just like to advocate for all the teachers and students' lives who are being ruined. Because there are so many teachers who help support students find out what they want to be when they grow up, help them have a comfort space at school, especially when other classes can be so stressful. And without those teachers, like, students' lives could fall apart without their support, because they are the structure to help raise us, help us learn, help us grow. Without them, everything can crumble. And I just wanted to say that, just like show how important this is to us.
Thank you.
How you doing? James Chambroni.
Why don't you take the mic out? There you go. Thank you.
My question isn't where the $3.6 million went, because we all do realize that budgets go up and everything else. My question becomes to everybody sitting on that board of why nobody was able to predict this. I look at empty faces. I see people scribbling, paying zero attention. Maybe some people that resigned should have stayed resigned. And other people sitting here nodding their heads. You were part of it. So why are you nodding your head? You had every single aspect of all of these people, these students, us as taxpayers, business owners, and everything else. And you guys screwed up and don't have answers to the people that put you up there. It's sinful. It's absolutely sinful. And to sit there and nod your head because all of a sudden you're up for re-election, and to think that by nodding your head or coming out now and saying, oh, this was a problem.
All right, sir, listen, I'm gonna have to ask you to address the president of the
I'm
board, not me.
addressing the board. Are you a member of it?
So,
Did
Mr.
you
Leon,
get part of the budget?
just
Right here.
pause.
You will address the president.
So, excuse
No,
me,
but
Mr. Leon. Excuse me, Melissa, just make sure.
Come out with questions about the budget, so
Excuse
answer
me,
them.
excuse me, you're doing good. Just continue to talk to me.
I'm speaking to the entire board.
Right, so just talk to
Do
me.
not
Melissa.
anybody here deserve answers instead of your smirks and you're shaking your heads and everything else? Wow, Mr. Heller, got something to say?
The board members, please.
Sir,
Say it
Board-
to everybody else.
board
that's
members,
up
please.
there.
sir,
Mr.
you are required to address the president.
Yes, just have
I'm
to.
addressing the
Please
Thank you.
address,
board.
please
Thank you.
address the
I'm
president.
addressing the board. The
Please,
people
please follow
want
the protocol.
answers. The teachers deserve answers. How was it that you did not budget correctly, knowing full well, we all knew the 3-year program money was ending. The same way people knew the unemployment checks were ending. People knew they weren't getting assistance. People know these things. You fully knew that. And you didn't prepare for it. And Dr. Talbot, the first thing you should have done when you took your position
Sir,
was address the finances.
please. address
Just
the
direct it to
president.
me. Thank you.
Okay, the first thing as a superintendent would be, is to come in and know what the finances of the district look like. I would think so, especially when you're getting paid a lot of money.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, at this point in time, we are ending the input on non-agenda items. Can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting at,
Madam President, I had a question regarding the accessing of teachers from
Ms.
early
Mr.
on.
Leon, I'm going to take a motion to adjourn the meeting at 9:25. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Carol Seoff is first. Dave Heller is second. All those in favor? Aye, motion carries 6-0.
No, ma'am, let the record reflect on,